my differentiated play activity, I picked the manipulative erasers, little reward erasers, because I collect them. I love them. I think they're going to be really great to use in the classroom, so I buy a lot of them whenever I see them at the Target Dollar Spot. So, to start with constructive play, I decided to build it, use erasers to build roads and bridges. So I drew a road and I drew a bridge so that the students could pick out the important words being road and bridge and see that I have a road and a bridge and make the connection that they can build a road. So I built a little road of apple erasers, and then I could go back and get little cars and, roll my cars on there, and I could make it thicker with, I could make it thicker like this so that there's more room for the cars to go by, or animals walking on the road, people walking on the road, anything they would want to use. So that's the activity I chose for them for constructive play. And the email I chose was standard AEL3, which says applies problem solving skills. So when you're constructing something, you're going to run into problems. Many problems, probably. You have to make sure that it works. So if I took these away and I tried to put my car on and my car was too big, then I would have to say, well, how can I change that so that my car will fit on the road? And then maybe I could come up with this solution. Say, oh, there we go, now my car fits. So they're really going to have to use problem solving skills and to figure out solutions to their problems that they find while building. And for play, for social play, I picked, for constructive, I picked solitary play and parallel play. So solitary play is what I'm aiming for. It's going to be just a one-person thing. However, if they're doing it next to someone, they may look at the person next to them and try to pick ideas from them. So that's why I said parallel play, because it could turn into parallel play even though it is meant to be solitary play. So moving on to games with rules. Here are my directions. They're very long, so because I made up the game, so it's kind of hard to just say short directions. So I tried to draw for the word pattern. I drew a little pattern to help them, and for this game I would explain the rules before playing. I would maybe even do it the day before they play, explain the rules to them verbally so that they can hear it, because they can't read all these words. And I would also play with them. So I'd have them sit in a circle on the carpet maybe and bring a few friends to play with me. We'd play the game, show everyone the rules. So yeah, so I wrote player number 1 will make a pattern with erasers, and then I wrote a little pattern there. Everyone will follow the pattern, and then if you break the pattern, you take the erasers and you start over with a new pattern and different erasers. At the end, whoever has the least or smallest amount of erasers wins. So essentially, if I made this pattern, which is 3 eggs, 1 carrot, 2 brown bunnies, and 1 white bunny, everyone would have to follow that pattern. So the person next to me would follow that pattern, the next person, and the next person. Say the third person to follow the pattern messes it up or changes the pattern, they take all of these erasers and they keep them. And then at the end of the game, when time is up, whoever has the least amount of erasers, so if I didn't have any erasers, then I would have won, because that means I kept the pattern the whole time. So for play, for social play, for that one, I said it's group play, because that has to be done in a group. It's not really a single person play or even a one-on-one person play. So yeah, and then the email I chose for games with rules was CEL3, which says demonstrates understanding of rules and social expectations. So there are rules to this game, so students have to learn to follow those rules. And they also have to learn the social expectation within games. They have to learn to take turns, they have to know how to take turns and share. So if I made the pattern, I don't get to make the next pattern, someone else is going to make the next pattern. So they really have to understand that for games with rules. And then moving on to dramatic play, I chose to have a grocery store. So here I just wrote grocery grocery store use the erasers as money to buy food. And then I drew an apple and some fries so they could pick out the word food. So if I wanted to buy these bunny marshmallows, I would have to bring my egg erasers and say, here you go, I would like to buy these bunny marshmallows. How much are they? And then the person that is playing the cashier would say, oh, that is 5 eggs. So I would say 5 eggs. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 egg erasers. Here are my 5 eggs, and that's how they would pay. Pretty simple, that one, but I think it's still effective in using the manipulative. And this one I said would also just be group play, even though dramatic play can be the other things, the other social play levels. I do believe that this one specifically is only going to be group play because you have to converse with someone and socialize with someone to buy the food. And I didn't count it as parallel play either because parallel play I see as more of me watching you or playing next to you rather than playing with you. So I also didn't count it as parallel play either for that reason. And then the Wemail standard I have for that is BEL 1, BEL 1, and it says engages in imaginative play and inventive play, thinking through interactions with people, materials, and the environment. So they have to think about the person they're playing with, the cashier, and they have to think about what they're saying, take what they're saying and say, okay, they said 3 eggs and I have 5 eggs, so let me count out 3 eggs, which also means that they're exploring the manipulative and being imaginative with the manipulative. So moving on to functional play, I did kind of an organizing activity. So I said sort it, look, feel, and touch the erasers, sort them into groups by shape, color, or size. So for size, I did 3 different size squares. For shapes, I drew some shapes, and for color, I drew the rainbow. So the students can pick out those important words through the pictures and see, oh, there's pictures for these 3 words. Those must be important, and what do they mean? What does it say? So for this one I have puzzle erasers, and I chose to organize mine into colors, blue, green, yellow, and red, so they can really organize them however they want. And for the Wemail standard I chose was AEL2, which says engages in meaningful learning through attempting, repeating, experimenting, refining, and elaborating on experiences and activities. So the reason I chose that Wemail for this activity is because they're really exploring the manipulative. It's probably going to be one of the first activities I do with the manipulative so that they can really get to know this new manipulative that they don't know about. So they're really going to refine how they use the manipulative. They're going to experiment with it and say, okay, do I want to sort it by shape or by size? And then they realize that the green and the blue puzzle erasers are the same size, so they can't do that. So they have to go back and retry and re-experiment and say, oh, maybe I can do it by color because they're different colors. So that's why I chose that Wemail standard. And then for play, for functional play, I said, once again, solitary play, that's what it's meant for, but again, it can kind of bleed into parallel play because students are going to look at each other playing and decide, oh, do I want to do what they're doing? Do I not want to do what they're doing? So that's why I chose those. And then the last one is concept development play, which this one I love. So the directions I wrote say letter match. Listen to the first sound you hear for each eraser, the type of object it is, and then match the sound to the letter by putting the eraser in the cup that's next to the letter. So I drew a basketball, and that equals B for ball. So I have my cup, and I would have multiple cups out, probably like right here, and then I would have different letters. So for this, I just put a big B next to this cup and a little b next to this cup. And so here I have some bunny erasers laying out, and I would say, okay, this is a bunny, that sounds like a B. So let me find a B. Oh, here's a B, here's a big B and a little b. So I think that must go with this cup. So I would put that in there, and then I would say, oh, this is a puzzle piece. Puzzle. And then they would have to think about P and P, put it together, find the P, and put it in the P cup. So yeah, that's what they have to do with that. They get to really focus on beginning sounds, which relates to the WeMel. And the WeMel says it is CEL1, develops ability to detect, manipulate, or analyze the auditory parts of spoken language. So they're really taking what they know about phonemic awareness and sounds, and they're putting it to phonics, which they're just being exposed to. So they're taking, they're combining both, they're connecting them, and saying, okay, here's what I hear when I say this word. What does it sound like to me? What letter does it sound like? Okay, now what did that letter look like? And then they finish it off by putting it in the cup. So I really like that activity. I think it's a really good one. And this one would also be solitary play, meant for solitary play, but again, it might bleed into parallel play if they're doing it next to someone. And if they have the same erasers as them, they might be like, oh, where did you end up putting that one? So yeah, that's what I chose for my activities. I think they're really fun activities, yeah.